Alright, so we took our 1860, Colt 1860 copy out today. Got 4 cylinders through it, and as you see, it's still rotating, okay? Was making a beginner's mistake, had to go watch other people's channels. You have to get all the petroleum-based lubricants out, and then what I did is I disassembled it, and where the rod was, I'll show you, I smeared it with boar butter. I just packed it right in there, and this thing did not freeze up or anything and worked fine. Where the last time I had it, when after I brought it home, after a few hours, I couldn't get it to turn. I can still do it. Let me go get my tools. I'll get the barrel off. What we're going to do is I'm going to take off the barrel and the cylinder. We'll look at what we got. I'm going to clean those 2 components. There's no difference, just with hot water and soap, hot soapy water. And then on this gun, because it's a bit simpler, we're going to take it apart and look. Now this gun is used, was made in 1988. I fired it a few times years ago. I want to get inside the mechanism and see how dirty it is down inside, and then wash everything and then reassemble it. Okay, I want to check it. You know, you don't have to do this every time you fire one, especially these, because like this one here, oh yeah, it goes down in there. You can get crud down in the action. I'd say, I don't know, however often you want to go through the trouble of totally disassembling it to clean it. If I was going to shoot these a lot, I'd clean them kind of normal without disassembling them all the way. Maybe after a month or so or something. Depends how much you shoot them. Or it depends if you're going to go and put this up and not shoot it, just leave it for years, okay? So let me get the barrel off here and we'll take a look. Okay. So, let our wedge loose. Actually not too bad with the same black furry stuff down in there as usual. What we want to look at, okay, now that was packed pretty good with boar butter. But as you see, it didn't get gummy, it's still lubricated, it's still free turning. You know, through there isn't too terrible. No heavy buildup at center rod. So that's the way to go. There is gunk in there. It looks like there's gunk down in the action. I want to give this a thorough cleaning this time around, and we'll disassemble this separate. So I'm going to go and clean these 2 items here and get them done and set aside. And I'll come back when I start to disassemble that and take that. Okay, and now the fun begins. These guns are fairly not complex. If you notice though, there are these large protruding screws on both sides of the frame. That's for a shoulder stock, but we don't have the little thing cut in there. I guess Pieta or one of the companies puts them on all their revolvers. Alright, so the first thing we do is make sure the hammer's forward to release pressure on the spring. And somebody's had this gun apart more than once. All these screws are pretty well chewed up. And these ain't bad because they go into steel in the frame. So you want to get these 2 out. Being as careful as you can. You know, people do take these apart, and all of these have some sort of minor damage to them, so somebody's been in this gun more than once. Now the one you got to be careful with is the one here on the bottom, because this is a steel screw going into brass, and you got to be careful not to strip it, and when we put it back together, line it up and make sure you don't strip out the screw. And this one is different than those 2. So we'll set these aside. And basically this should come off fairly easy, and there's caps and all kinds of crud in there. Alright. So this mainspring goes up to the hammer, and this is how you tension it down. And again, another screw going into the cast brass. So you got to be careful with it. And basically you just loosen up the screw. And you swing it out, and that's pretty simple, pretty easy. And there was a cap fell out of there, so it's a good thing to taking this apart. Set this off to the side. And as you see, there's buildup inside here. Okay, then the next thing we're going to do is the 3 screws here. We're going to get the brass trigger guard and handle off. And like I said, it's not that complex of a weapon. It's not really an awful lot. You just have to be careful with the little tiny screws and don't strip out nothing. The only ones you really got to worry about are the 2 that go in the brass frame, the one for the bottom of the grip and for the mainspring. So we got our screws, set them over here. Okay, and there's the look at your insides. Not too terrible. The Walker was a lot more dirty than this. And this spring here controls your trigger in your hand. So you would take that screw out there. That one's in there a little on the tight side. Okay. And that's what it is. Generally, if something goes wrong with your action, it's because this is broken, this little flat spring. Now, somebody showed where they were replacing it with another type of spring, and it's a wire spring other than a flat spring. So that may be a problem, a wolf spring. Now, as for these large ones, you know what? I'm just going to get them out of there for the hell of it, just to get them out of the way. Because they go in there, they come close to the other parts. That one doesn't do anything. That one does come close. So I took that one out. It will be on the left-hand side. Because you can see it. I don't know if it touches or comes close or what. So I think the next thing we can do is get the hammer out. Some people take the trigger and the hand out first. When I do it, I just took out the hammer and the screw. And basically it all comes down. See, that's got a lot of gunk and grime and stuff on it. So I ain't saying every time, but yeah, see, it's built up on the hammer and it causes misfires. Every now and again, it's pretty good to clean all this out. Okay, and this screw here is what holds the trigger in. Somewhat dirty. And then the last piece down in there is a screw, and that goes all the way to one side, is the hand. And what the hand is that's that piece, or the stop. The stop down in there. That's what stops your cylinder, and I'm sorry, the hand is attached to the hammer. That's what rotates the cylinder, and that's your cylinder stop down in there. Yeah, this is grungy. Like I said, you don't have to do it every time, but a lot of grime and grit in there on all these pieces. And there's a lot of grime and grit there. Now this is all steel. So we can go and get the hot soapy water, drop the whole thing in there, scrub it down with a toothbrush, get down into the recess, clean out where the hand goes down inside there and check it all out and get the gunk off of it. Looks like there's a lot of stuff built up in here. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of slime and grease on the internal components. And then you can clean, there's a lot of buildup down inside this frame. Okay, as you can see, everything has a pretty heavy coat of gunk and grime on it. Down in here, all of this. Not too terrible. The Walker was worse from the firing. This thing hasn't been apart in years. Not too bad, but hot soapy water and a brush, and then we'll look for burrs. You know, like there's some sharp edges here I might hit with a stone or a file. And where the hand is, this is all pretty heavily gunked up. And then down in there, you know, I want to scrub all that down there where that base of the cylinder is. That's all full of grime and nasty stuff over the years. You know, the hammer, the hand, there's all this fuzz and that on there. Everything looks pretty good. So that's what we're going to do. That's how you kind of take it apart and get a good thorough cleaning of all that. And then I'll lubricate all the screws and all the parts and put it back together and that. Alright. Alright, first thing I've done is I've washed all the springs, not the mainspring, but all the screws, the trigger. I got cleaned up and everything, got all the grime and grease off. I've rinsed the screws off, any black residue or gunk. And now I'm just going to hit them and oil up all the screws, all the parts, put a protective coat of lubrication on them. And I'm going to let these just sit there. Now we're going to take the hammer out. Look at it. Hand should just come out. There it is. There's the hand. There's the hammer. And what I'm going to do is just hit it with my brass brush to loosen up all the gunk and grime and stuff built up over time on it. Sure, that's where your notches are on the hammer. Got all the crap off it, scraped off most of it off. Now this one, the face is okay, the caps don't stick, so we're not going to do anything. Sometimes you'll have burrs up in here. You might want to try to break free, but we don't. Rinse it off again. Yeah, nice and clean now. Okay. All nice and clean. Pretty smooth, no burrs, no nothing. So now that I got that part done, what I'm going to do is just hose it down in lubricant. And let it set to the side. Now the hand and the little spring here is delicate. You want to be careful with that. So I'm going to try to wipe all the grime and stuff off of it. Sometimes this is something somebody may screw up. This one, fairly good shape. No burrs or nothing on the edge. This is well worn. You know. Pretty good shape. It's a little bit of rust in that on there. So we'll set that aside. Hose that down. Lubricant. I'm going to wipe off all the excessive lubricant. Alright, now for the frame in that. Okay. Yeah, see, even though you soak this, this has got a bit of a sharp edge. I may hit it with a stone or file, but everything else is pretty good. And a lot of the gunk down inside there. So I'll just get an old patch. Try to clean all of this out. Down inside there where the cylinder rotates. You see it's pretty filthy down in there. Yeah, a lot of buildup. Down in here, get my brush. Give it a little brushing action. Try to get down in there. Might have to get another brush. See how it comes right off. Holy crap. Get a toothbrush. Clean it. Clean down in here. That's what I gotta do. Get one of them gun cleaning brushes. There you can get right down in there and all that. Down inside there. Yeah, a lot of, clean it. And give this part of the frame a good scrub. And center thing there. Hey, squirrel. So I guess you guys get the idea of what's going on here. Okay, now that I've kind of scrubbed this thing all clean, I noticed there were some burrs and nicks, sharp edges down here. And all I did was take a hard stone and just run it gently on the edges and just smooth them out, that's all. No need to file or get crazy, just stone it a little, take the sharp edge away. Actually, this gun's, I think somebody worked on this gun before, so a lot of the burrs and nicks and crap are gone. Alright, so now, and yeah, I know you're not supposed to use petroleum products. I'm going to hose it down. Everything's clean. Down inside there. Hose it down and then make sure I get everything preserved. And then what I will do is when I go to shoot it, I will take this apart and wipe this down with acetone and put the floor butter in it. But I just want to protect it against rust. henceforth while I'm giving it a good wash down. I'm going to just wipe it all out. Once I let this soak a bit, and all the screws and small parts will be ready, and we're going to be ready to reassemble it. So after that, we're just going to wipe it all down and get it back together again. Okay, we have everything wiped down and clean, and now we're going to start our reassembly. And basically just reverse order. The first thing I'm going to put in is the stop and the screw. Now what that does, if you look, there's that square, I don't know if you can see it, square hole down there. You might have to go to somebody else's video, it's kind of difficult for me. And I believe it goes in there in the first hole, and you kind of line them up like that. Get that down in there. And screw that one in. So, next is the trigger. Trigger, screw, and the trigger goes in right next to it. And you just kind of try to line it up. It's going to be difficult for me. There you go, trigger's in. And if you notice, the trigger is like next to the hand, okay? So next one is going to be the hammer. Now the hammer on this side with the solid face, not that side, is where you're going to put the hand and the spring. So we put them in together like this. And there's a square notch here in the frame. That's where you're going to want to line up this. Kind of get it started in there, get the hammer up in there, and then just gently get it to where the hammer screw will line up. Have to kind of wiggle it around, come back with it, slip it up in there, don't force it. And there we go. Okay. So that all looks good. Now we'll put that weird screw back here. Like I said, this screw is just for shoulder stock. I forget. He had one company put them screws in whether it was cut for the shoulder stock or not. Okay, so now you want to go back with our action spring. Now you want the spring to be facing down. That's the whole idea on the different parts. So we'll get the spring in there. Hammer closed. Alright. Once again, we'll try to get the spring in there. Get the screw. And be careful with this and go slow. Make sure that the screw started and threaded right. Don't want to cross thread it or get it. Okay. And give it a check. Yep. Everything's working good. Okay. So we got all those parts back. Make sure that's tight again. And now we're going to put the frame on. Get that one started. And these two here in the rear. And you just kind of got to float them. I leave them a little loose so they got room to line up. And then again, be careful not to cross thread them. Okay, I'm going to cut from this instead of making a long video. I'll get the other screw in and tighten them down. Okay, so we got these three in, down, the frames back together. Now for the mainspring. We'll get it started. Now this is where you got to be careful because this is brass. You don't want to cross thread this. So start it kind of by hand. And when you got room, see now without tension on there, you can slide it under, hold it in place. You got a good 2-3 thread start so you're not cross-threaded or binding. You know that you're in your threaded hole. And then you just keep going. Until it is tightened down. Lined up, okay, half cock, full cock. So you're good to go. All right, so now we're good. Now it's just a matter of putting on the frame or the handle. Now this is a one piece, most of these are a one piece deal, it's in there. So where you got to be careful here. You got two screws that go up into the frame and a little weird short one. This is brass, so you're threading into brass, so you want to be careful. So you fit the handle back on there. Try to line that up visually. And get it started. This is the one you got to be careful with. Cross-threading and that because you're going into brass. Move that handle a little. Come on. What I'm going to do is get that started and not tighten it all the way down. Okay? And drop these two in. Alright, when you're getting these two in, you may have to go and press down on the frame to get the holes to line up and catch. But once you do, you want to run these in. so they draw up tight without getting crazy with it. Now these are steel going into steel, so they don't damage that easily, but still, you don't want to strip these out. This is what holds the damn gun together. Okay, now this one here, I didn't tighten up all the way, but it should be lined up. And we finish that. There we go. Go to half cock. Get our cylinder. Barrel and everything all nice and clean and oiled up. Slide our frame over. Wedge, I mean. Get my tapping going. Tap it in where it should be. And there you go, guys. That's your complete cleaning. Like I said, it's not that terrible. You just have to be careful and gentle with it. I mean, this gun was made in 1988. You know, now it's clean, nice, functions fine. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the video in today's shooting session. Stay tuned.